Oh, good morning and Happy New Year, everybody. Pleased to have you all here for our Financial Assistance Program webinar. I'm Andy Pleninger, the Urban and Community Forestry Program Head. For you folks that don't know who I am, our protocol today, myself and Justin Bennett, the Urban Forestry Specialist, will be proctoring, taking questions, and then we'll ask those. But kind of on our protocol here, please mute your microphones. Please sign in using the chat with your name and organization. As I said, type your questions. We have a big group, over 50 registered. So type your questions in the chat. When we get to that period, Justin will work through those. We are recording this webinar and transcribing it, and we'll be posting it on our website for future viewing. Just be aware, attendees do not have our permission to record or transcribe this webinar. So our agenda here, I'm going to do a quick overview of the key take-home messages, and then I get into the detail of describing how the program works this year. Okay. If you have any trouble hearing me or seeing things, be sure to say something, because sometimes bugs happen and we don't know about it. So pull me in if there's something I'm missing or you're not seeing. Okay.
Jason Thomas voice. Okay, what am I supposed to be doing? He said type something in the chat. What?
Please mute your mics. Okay, so a bit about us who you don't know us. The Urban and Community Forestry Program is a federally funded program. Small staff, myself, the program head. Sarah Hollis is our community forestry coordinator. She's kind of your first contact. If you have questions, reach out to her first, and she'll get you to the right person. And Justin Bennett, who is our urban forestry specialist. We also have, certainly our district and county staff are available for, they're kind of our on-the-ground people, so do reach out to them. We do ask on the applications that you contact them to let them know that you're interested and would be submitting an application. So ultimately, we are here to serve you, our primary customers, our municipalities, and actually our staff, providing technical expertise and guidance, training and education. Obviously this cost share programs, we're certainly looking to provide state level leadership, partnership building, and coordination. We can't do this alone. So our primary mission, on the left here is a nice fact sheet that you can find on our webpage that goes into it a little more detail. Our primary mission is to help municipalities move up this urban and community forestry management hierarchy. And we use 6 measures to see how folks are moving, communities are moving up this management ladder, putting them into 4 different categories. Ultimately achieving what we would call managing. Some of you that may know Tree City, the 4 standards at the bottom there put you at the Tree City level. So this is not the end all for a community, but this provides the foundational organizational design to allow a community to manage their urban forest resource, with the capacity and to the level that they want. So that is our mission. Highlights on the Financial Assistance Program, our changes, which you are going to see primarily, and most of what we offer this time around is for municipalities and tribal governments only. We may have opportunities for other agencies and institutions periodically, but this year, this particular one, most are just for municipality and tribal governments. Now, that doesn't mean that, say, a 501c3 or another institution can't be a part of one of these projects. What we would tell you is to work with your municipality to implement a project idea that you may have, and then ultimately the municipality would submit the application. The structure is cost share, meaning we will only reimburse for purchased goods and services. And depending on the funding program, a percentage will be identified, be that 75% we will pay, and much of what we have is actually 100%, but that is based on the funding program. Our application process, it is an electronic application. The applicant should have a project in mind, should have contacted or worked with a consultant, select a package, the funding program, and then in most cases, well, you're going to need a needs and opportunities statement. And in most cases, we are going to ask for a quarterly work plan and budget. And we will continue to have January and July offerings each year. What we have are packages of practices and activities, and they're broken up, as you see, as follows. For communities that do not meet Treaty City standards, direct you to the Climb to Tree City USA, Bad Tree Bounty, and Arbor Day Celebration Assistance, which will be offered in July. Those that meet Tree City standards, Climb to Managing Community, and the Tree Maintenance and Planting Projects. We also have a professional staff development assistance that runs roughly 6 months each year to help communities that don't have urban community professionals on staff obtain credentials. And then the last category is the special projects. We do have an RFP out now, but that will be as needed and will have unique eligibility and requirements as those come out. So big picture, the funding programs to fund these particular packages, there are 3 that you will see us note, and I'll go over those with each one of the RFAs, but our consolidated program grant is the grant that we get every year from the Forest Service and approved by Congress. There are no restrictions on eligible municipalities for this funding, and it will fund 75% of grant share. We have Hurricane Helene recovery funding that's in specific counties in the Hurricane Helene impact area. That will fund 100%. And we also have Inflation Reduction Act monies that will only fund projects in eligible project areas, which I'll go over. This too funds 100%. Okay, just last touch, I mentioned Sarah, general information, she should be your first call. And Justin Bennett for technical guidance. Certainly you can reach out to me as needed. And now we are going to go into the details. So I am going to give you an overview, pretty much where to find everything, which is all on our website. So first, if you haven't been there, Google to the North Carolina Forest Service. It'll bring you to our homepage. You scroll down, various contacts for all your county rangers and local staff you can find there, as well as us, but all of our programming, and bring you down to Urban Community Forestry. We have made some changes. We're adding constantly, so trying to get resources for you all to use. So be sure to come back and we will let you know what new things we have up here. The organization is generally on here's the WISE, Ecosystem Services, Urban Forestry. The definition, important, we categorize those things. Same community forestry activities. And then finally, the Financial Assistance Program. But if you look on the right sidebar here, it's going to show you all of the particular pages. Quick overview, all of our Arbor Day programming, guidance documents. We manage the Champion Tree Program. So that, again, guidance, the Financial Assistance Program, we'll circle back that. Forestation and tree planting, guidance in BMP page, tree boards, information about Tree City USA and programming, all the details about that you will hear about. Trees and storms, specifications, BMPs. Selecting urban forestry professionals. So this page gives you guidance on, in our field, there are a lot of professionals that work in our field. And it can be a little confusing. So this page lays out definitions of each, what they do, what they're best at, and then gives you some guidance on selecting the correct ones. So be sure to look all this over. But I'm going to take you to the Urban and Community Forestry Resources and Specifications page, because this is really your one-stop shop, where all the documents are loaded, irrelevant of where they may fall under a particular category. And here, again, you will see specifications that we refer to in the respective RFAs. So, and guidance documents, so you will find it all here. So let me go through highlights on that. So inventory and analysis work. Various examples of reports to give you the types of things that will happen in that. If you are doing an inventory or a canopy cover assessment, these are various requests for proposals that have specifications that you can use and are also our expectations. This is a new tool. I'll just quickly hop on it. If you're not aware of it, that's from the Forest Service that provides canopy cover assessment data. It is not by municipality. Here we're looking at Fayetteville, but it does importantly say that if you're in a particular project area and you're looking for low canopy cover, this is a tool you can use. Here I'm selecting a number, but play around with this. This gives good information, the type of information we like to see about if you want to plant an area. Getting some canopy cover data saying it's low is going to be important, as you will see. So a new tool. Planning and management. Here's that fact sheet that I mentioned. I showed on my little presentation there. Here is a template for a management plan that gives expectations on what should be completed in a management plan. Examples, and again, here's for use a contract specification for consulting services. Ordinances. Under tree maintenance, I'll point out here are specifications for tree work. Tree planting, our tree list, which we will cite, some guidance on proper planting site selection, tree planting and supply specifications, again, and additional guidance. As I said, here's the one-stop shop. So you're going to find all documents that are elsewhere in our web pages. Okay. Community forestry, some great examples of good Arbor Day celebrations, details on the Champion Tree Program, and Tree City USA. Here's a great tool for helping communities budgeting it, identifying a forestry budget. Certainly helps for applying for Tree City, but it's also a great tool just for you to break down where you are spending money. on your forestry activities. Broader ecosystem service benefits documents that we have that are really statewide information, but great and timely information for you to see some current benefits of all of our work. And then as it relates to the RFA here, the Financial Assistance Program, all the documents you need, plus some great guidance documents. So on the project planning side, I'll review this practices and activities in a little bit, but here's some additional guidance for project planning and then giving you more specific guidance relative to doing our application. That's a little more detailed than I'm going to show you in a little bit. So this is a good tool. Here is another tool by practice and activity category where we give some guidance on the types of project tasks that we expect to see. I'll speak to the project areas in a second. Example of a cost share project. And then as it relates to the request for applications right now, here's the budget cost form. I will go over that in a bit. But here are copies of each of the electronic applications for planning purposes. So you will look these over. You're going to see what questions we're going to be asking so you can be prepared. Okay, so kind of that one-stop shop, all urban forestry resources and specifications. All right, let's jump over to our Financial Assistance Program page. And I am going to drive you first to our funding programs. As I say, you're ultimately going to pick which funding program, but this page one says those that we currently have, NC Forest Service. We also periodically, and when we hear about it, we are going to post other types of funding sources and opportunities out there. And here are a few that we're aware of. So a resource for you. But here's the detail on that Hurricane Helene funding. You'll see this will only provide assistance to municipalities that are located in these counties. The Inflation Reduction Act will provide assistance for projects that are located in these Inflation Reduction Act project areas. This isn't the only way to get to that place, but here is the tool. These blue shaded areas are expanded census tracts, but the project must take place within one of these particular projects areas to be eligible for the Inflation Reduction Act money. So you simply navigate to your community to take a closer look. And let's say here's Albemarle. You mine down, closer you get, the more detail you're going to get. But if you collect on the municipality, you're going to see this is the municipality. The percent of the municipality that's covered by these project areas is listed here. And some statistics about the community. But the project in Albemarle must take place in one of these project areas. And in an application, we will ask you for those project areas. You will click on it, simply copy and paste this project area number. So the boundaries, you can see the further I zoom in, the boundaries become clearer by street names or features. So you can see where the cutoffs are. So Inflation Reduction Act, yep, you got to look. Work can only take place in those project areas. And then a little bit about the consolidated program grant. This is our annual grant that we receive each year from the Forest Service. Okay. So let's jump back to the Financial Assistance Program page, and here is an overview of the program. And then at the bottom are the RFAs, and we will get into that detail. But here is a summary. You're going to find kind of program news at the top. If you haven't been here, again, I've described our objectives. This is a review of that. Again, we are working to move folks up this management hierarchy. Eligible practices and activities. As I mentioned, those that are eligible, the categories, and ineligible practices and activity. This is generally speaking for the program. I mentioned the structure. Again, we are cost share. An awardee will pay to have that service provider complete the services, and then we will reimburse the awardee the cost share percentage provided by the funding program and the grant contract, and only purchase goods and services related to completing the project that are in the budget are eligible. All of our grants do include an indirect administrative allocation for the project. It varies, but typically the default is going to be 15% of the project costs. This is important. I think you all know, particularly our federal grants, there is reporting, and we want to make sure that that is done by professionals. So this money is there to help get that work done. Okay, so generally, how's the application process? Remind you, make sure you're connected with us. Do subscribe so you get information from us. But your first step should always be to solicit urban forestry expertise to help develop your project plan. Certainly reach out to us. We're here to provide questions and guidance. As I said, our webpage provides a lot of guidance in helping you select professionals, that Urban Forestry Professionals webpage. So generally speaking, here are the requirements for all applications and projects. The entity must have a federal identification number, unique ID number, which is obtained by sam.gov. All projects must take place within the boundaries of a municipality or tribal lands. All projects will require this needs and opportunities narrative. And we are looking for information that is specific to your community. Namely, studies, datas, or even, based on your local investigation. So be specific about your community. General needs, such as all those things we know what the benefits our trees are for everybody, are not the types of things we're looking for. Planting trees, for example, first thing is where you want to plant them. Is there a need to have those trees planted? And so we want to see some investigation that verifies that, either published or by just survey work on your own or your consultant. All projects must include an outreach activities or products to engage and educate the community about the project. All projects must adhere to our standards plus ANSI A300, Z60.1. and International Society of Arboriculture Best Management Practices. All projects must have a project team that's composed of the following professionals: the administrative and finance folks, a communications professional, and then here is a definition of those what we determine as an urban forestry professional. So when we cite that, this is your definition that you need to use. And then all are going to require a final report. You will also need to contact your county ranger to inform him or her that you're submitting an application. So most applications, you are going to be required to develop a project deliverables and work plans. Work plan. You're going to be completing practices and activities. This will ultimately become a contract, and for that purpose, we're going to call that, these will be deliverables. And this glossary of deliverables and requirements is kind of our terminology, definitions, again, by project category. This is the language of urban forestry as well as our financial assistance program to use. So for example, under the inventories and assessment category, gives a requirement for all these activities. Then under an inventory, specific types of inventories and their definitions. And then typically at the bottom, you may find what may be a deliverable for all of them. So for each category, look that over. These are the definitions and the language of our financial assistance program. Each RFA is going to offer possibly different project duration options. You are going to break that down in blocks of months for each project quarter, 3-month period. An application may ask you to select the deliverables that are going to be worked in that quarter and then provide a work completion narrative. I'll show you this in a little bit. For those that require the project budget, you will complete the budget form. I'll share that in a second. Follow the instructions on the form. But again, also, you are going to need quotes for the goods and services. Large-scale work, one proposal quote from a consultant, say to provide an inventory or develop a management plan. For smaller types of goods, quotes from the provider. We want to make sure the numbers you're giving us are based on real numbers. We will certainly look at those as we do the review and see that they're right-sized. So share the budget form with an example. So this, on the margins here, you can kind of see some instructions about working around, and I'll kind of go through that, but quite simply put your name in here. There is a drop down for which application you may be applying for. Put the request for applications number here, and then you will select the funding program. You can see, and then there are budget item categories. On the second page here, you see the definitions of all of these. So look at this. So when you select one, you know what you're picking. So format, for example, on a line item here, again, we are reimbursing for purchased goods and services. Here, selection was a urban forestry consulting services. The first item is this happened. What is the practice and activity that's completed? Who is the vendor? And then what is the unit price structure that you use over on the right next two columns? In this case, it's a cost per tree or site inventoried per an attached service quote. And we're estimating that 1,000 trees or sites will be inventoried at $10 per site. And work through all of that based on the information that you get from your providers. A little more guidance now. In some cases, you may not know the exact number of trees or sites that would be planted, removed, or pruned. But this is where you need to weigh on your consultant that based on their experience, you have X number of trees that may be inventoried, a certain percent of them that may need to be removed or pruned. Lean on them to give you that kind of information. I am also, from a budgeting standpoint, a 10 to 20% contingency on top of that is certainly appropriate. We will look these numbers over, but the last thing we want is to have it under budgeted. So, but we want to see that you have done the work, the homework, that this budget is as accurate can be based on good information. So if you are on 100% funding, reimbursement, this little drop down gives you the funding program information. So let's say this is Hurricane Helene recovery. Given the grant is going to cover 100% of that, you're certainly only going to be filling out the top section. Obviously, there's no applicant share. You can leave this blank, or as it says over here, you can choose to delete this set. And let me just kind of back up one thing is that this page is not right protected. So, you can corrupt it, so to speak. Formulas are here. You might disrupt those. So be aware to make sure you check those types of things. And also the formatting. But let's say, this is CPG, where you have 75% reimbursement. You're down. I just showed, okay, here's a management plan, and I do put 0.75. The cost to do it is 50,000. Then obviously down in the applicant's share, we're putting 0.25, and we have the split. You get down, it totals project out, but here you insert what that indirect may be. So as I say, for consolidated program, the indirect is 15%. So you simply put 15% in here. It will do the calculations, but if you bugger them up, just be aware of that, double check them. So if I go 20%, there would be the indirect that will be paid. Okay, so one last thing you'll know is that we need you to print this to a PDF. Don't send us the spreadsheet. We need a uneditable version of what you're submitting. So as this can be, you can increase, be careful about margins and so forth. When you go to print to a PDF or save as a PDF, make sure the formatting is getting the width to one page. We certainly know it's going to go to multiple pages and it's going to split columns, but that's okay. So be sure when you print it that you're giving us a document that fits it to one page in width and that it's a PDF. Okay. All right. Okay, so here are the Financial Assistance Program packages and our current RFAs. And each shows the package, a quick definition, when they're going to be offered each time of the year. You can see those that we have eligible. Just to point out, the Arbor Day Celebration Assistance will be available in July. Okay. So click to apply here is going to give you the request for application document where all the details regarding this particular Climate Tree City USA package are for you to see. Who is eligible? Application period. Organization is going to be same on all of these RFAs. And these are the project practices, activities, and deliverables that will be completed. And this is unique for those that have not achieved Tree City yet. A qualified service provider, will guide you through the completion of these following practices and activities. The Urban and Community Forestry Program will secure that provider for the community or assist you in securing that provider. And these are the activities that will be completed as a part of this project. A sample tree inventory of the public trees in the municipality. A management plan per our management template. So it's a review of the program. A trees and storms readiness plan checklist. Review of your public tree ordinance. Review of your standards and specifications. That outreach component that we will have for each project. An Arbor Day celebration, and it will also include a tree planting project, small planting project, 10 trees to celebrate the project. Final report. All three of the funding programs are eligible for this particular RFA. For the consolidated program, there are no restrictions on the municipality. And we reimburse 75% of the eligible purchase goods and services. Indirect is 15%. And we have 50,000, a little bit more to fund all of our CPG projects. Helene recovery, as I mentioned, municipalities in these counties. This is 100% cost reimbursement. Indirect 15%, we have $2.2 million available. Inflation Reduction Act, 100% must fall within those project areas, which I shared. Here's another link to it. 100%, 20% reimburse indirect. We have $5.6 million available. Schedule for this project. Awarding information, I think I skipped that. Maybe I'll catch it on the backside. So we will have conditional awards by March 31st. We're going to work with the awardees with a planned project start date around July 1. Again, the application is electronic. I'll drive you to the application. This is a very simple one. We don't ask. All the applications on the front end, applicant information is going to be the same, so I'm not going to go in too much depth there. Same too, I mentioned the project team, so you're going to give us the project team, and then you're going to kind of get into the specific applicant questions. In this case, most importantly, here's that statement of needs and opportunities. You select the program you're applying for, and then we have 4 simple questions that are around the Tree City eligibility. And that is pretty much it. We don't ask you for any documentation, although this gives you an opportunity to share something with us if you would like to. And then finally, in the closing for all of them, we ask for the county ranger that you have contacted and give you an opportunity to add a little more information. So that's some of the standard stuff. Okay. The climb to managing municipalities and governments that meet all the Tree City standards. Here, though, you need to engage a qualified professional to guide you in the completion of the practices and activities and provide relevant information here. You'll see in a bit. Guidance there. So it must include the outreach program. So, but in addition, the applicants can select up to 2 additional practices, and these are the eligible practices and requirements. Funding program options, the same. All 3. Again, schedule. Applicants should plan on a start date of July 1. Conditional awards, March 31st. And between March 31st and May 31st, the conditional awardee has got to work with us to get that grant contract ready so you can start. Application, here's a summary of those things that will be asked for. Again, managing community application. Again, applicant information, would it be the same for all of them? Then we will, for these ones that you meet, you must be a Tree City. We are going to ask you to confirm that you meet that. We will check it. That project team. And now, and again, that project information, your needs and opportunities statement. And in this case, we know that the outreach program is part of it. So then you're going to select up to 2 additional practices you will be applying for. You will be required to give us the total financial assistance you're requesting, which funding program you're applying for. And then where were we asking for a project plan? This is the format. By project quarter. This project, this is a 1 year. So in the first quarter, we say which one of these products or activities, deliverables, will you be working? Select those that apply. And then give us a summary of the work that will be completed on these deliverables you've listed in the order of completion, by whom. So show us how you're going to get this done. And then it will subsequently ask you for the same for each quarter until you finish the project, showing us how these will all get completed. In this case, as you need to get quotes for services and develop the budget, we remind you here that you will email us a copy of the budget as well as your quote for services. And then the closing section is the same on all applications. Okay, tree maintenance and planting. Those that have achieved Tree City are eligible for the tree maintenance and planting projects. Same format, again, municipal and tribal governments that meet the standards for Tree City. Here are the practices and activities that are eligible. Again, pointing out, an outreach program is required. Then here is tree maintenance work. What is required is an inventory to identify those maintenance needs completed by an urban forestry professional. Urban forestry tools are eligible. Specifications need to be provided or approved. You can use ours or an equivalent. We'll need to see a short, a short plan that describes how, once that inventory is completed, how the work is going to get done. Practice plan. And that tree maintenance work and a report needs to be completed by a qualified urban forest. So it needs to be inspected, and we need to see that it was completed. If you are completing tree removal, replacement trees must be planted. So you would add tree planting to your plan. Similarly, specifications are required, either ours or an equivalent, approved equivalent. Tree must be on our tree list. If we're missing something, we'll certainly look at it. We expect a 2-year warranty on the tree plantings. Practice plan that details where the trees are going to be planted, the species to be planted, and post-care planting plan is required. Tree delivery supply and planting inspections and reports completed by a qualified professional are required. All this work needs to be supervised by a qualified professional. In this case, Helene and Inflation Reduction Act are the only funding programs eligible. The project schedule is the same, although these can be 2-year projects. And I will show you what this application looks like. So again, applicant information, same for all. Again, we asked you to confirm that you meet standards. So we'll check. Your project team. Project information questions. Your needs and opportunities statement. And we're simply going to ask, are you applying for tree maintenance? If not, it's going to kick you down to the question about, are you asking for tree planting? If you are, then we are simply going to ask, is your tree inventory going to be completed in-house professionals, contractual, or do you have a recently completed inventory? Are you going to be applying for the tree planting, yes or no? Same type of question. Do you have in-house urban forestry professionals that they'll develop these plans, or will it be done contractual? Similarly, on the outreach and products and events, is that in-house communications professional or contractual? The total amount of funding assistance you're requesting, which program you're applying for. In this case, we need to see those project areas from the map. Then the project plan gives you a couple of choices, 1 year up to 2 years. And then depending on how many of these you have, it's going to start and ask the work plan for each quarter, just as I described on the previous RFA. Select those deliverables that are going to be worked in that quarter, and then a narrative of how those are going to be worked. And I'll move you down, giving you choices on however many ever quarters you have. Coming to that required documentation area. Again, we need a budget form completed for this and your quotes for services. And then the closing statements. All right. That's all right. Tree bounty. Communities that have not meet Tree City standards. In this case, we will lead the community through the completion of the project. And this is to identify and mitigate bad trees, in quotes. We will determine what those are, but essentially we're talking about invasive species, potentially risk trees. But based on your community, we'll take a look at what are the most important needs and decide how to best proceed. What we will do for you includes a program review, that readiness plan, get you prepared for storms. We will do a partial inventory of these bad trees and sites to plant replacement trees, an outreach program, funding for some of the removals and pruning to be determined. We will also provide replacement trees. Our expectation of the municipality is they will remove select trees that we'll agree on that are within the municipality's capacity to complete, and they will plant the replacement trees. General schedule will be in the first quarter, the program review, second quarter, inventory and work plans, and then in the third quarter, the tree pruning, removal, and planting work. So this is a fairly simple application. And applicant information. And the questions relative to this project are, one, we do want your needs and opportunity statement. Then we're going to ask you again about how far along you are on the Tree City requirements. That's it. You can certainly give us some supporting documentation if you wish, and then the closing. We will only be awarding one project.
Andy, we just got a question asking, that's one project per applicant, correct?
No, you are welcome to put in multiple. Okay, final. The professional staff at this development assistance offering eligible organizations to obtain assistance to obtain professional urban and forestry credentials. Between now and the end of July, this is I'll go into it, but municipalities, a good number, don't have staff is what we really are targeting here. If you do not have urban forestry professional staff on board, you are eligible. This is a running period. It is open, first come, first serve. The eligible credentials, we'll provide assistance to obtain certified urban forestry professional, tree risk assessment qualification, which, by the way, there is a training that the council is sponsoring in the next 6 months here. I don't have the date off the top of my head, but also the certified urban and community forestry credential. Expenses are any credentialing fees and associated training materials on the tree risk assessment. We will cover expenses for travel, lodging, and so forth. Typical agreement. So the awardee does have to pay the expenses, and then you will request reimbursement for those. The staff person earning the credential must be currently employed and serving in a role that affects urban and community forestry in the municipality. And we expect the municipality to agree to facilitate the maintenance of the staff person's credential for as long as they continue to work for the municipality in the capacity that supports urban and community forestry activities. Application is electronic again, first come, first served basis. And here's the questions that will be asked. You will be asked for a letter from the supervisor. It's fairly straightforward, so I'll skip going over it. Well, let's just do it. Just make sure if folks end up with any questions, fairly straightforward. Again, applicant information, same. What are you applying for? Which of the credentials? Does your community currently have a credentialed urban community staff person? Statement of need, information about the person who will be you're requesting to attend it, what their duties are, their job title. So you will have needed to review the qualifications and make sure you are qualified, but we will provide some assistance on it. The event or when you're planning on doing it, and then the required documentation and the similar closing statement. Okay. If you hadn't figured out, which I think just to show again, clicking that link at the bottom is going to bring you to the application. Okay. Once you go, I think I did skip review and award. So all the applications are going to be reviewed for completeness and that they meet requirements. If they are not, then they are going to be disqualified. Then all the applicants are grouped by funding program and scored based on the following criteria. Technical merit of the application of the project, particularly the needs and opportunity narrative, is based on data and trends that identify and quantify the problem. And that work plan clearly illustrates how the project is going to be completed. The next are really where does the community fall is going to favor one application over another. Ranking lower on the management hierarchy, it will favor those lower ranked municipalities. Completion of the activity moves you up the next standard. Favors working on public trees versus other private. Builds upon a previously accomplished urban community forestry project. All right, so with that, Justin, you want to start rolling through the questions?
Yeah, absolutely. We've had a few come in, and so I'll just start at the list, and we'll work our way down. So one I did answer in chat regarding the bad tree bounty program, that we would only be awarding one project this year, and I explained that it's a new program and the staffing is limited, but there may be potential to expand on the program later. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, we have limited capacity, so unfortunately, right now, we're starting with one.
Mhm. All right. Kay Kirkman asks, will only one award be made for the Tree City USA program?
Uh, so the climb to Tree City is what was it K, did you say, Justin?
Yes, sir.
K, I think I see you there, K. You're shaking your head, yes. No, that will be multiple.
Okay.
Go ahead.
And
Hang on, Justin.
sorry.
Kay's got a follow-up.
Kay asks,
Um,
go
Justin,
ahead.
what I wanted to ask about the climb to Tree City USA, it states that there's
Mhm.
50,000 for all projects. So that's what was confusing to me.
No, depending on the funding program,
The climb to
So-
Tree City USA.
yeah, the climb to Tree City, I think CPG is eligible, Helene Recovery is eligible, and Inflation Reduction Act is eligible. So all three of those funding programs will fund the Climb to Tree City application.
Okay. All right, on the page that I'm looking at is, it's just the discussion of who's eligible and application period and so forth. At the bottom, it says 50,000 in assistance is available for award of all CPG funded RFAs. What does that mean?
Okay. So I'm going to pop this up and share this because so we are talking about the Climb to Tree City package.
Correct.
Who is eligible? So any municipality to start with, we're saying that is not a tree city. Then we have three different funding programs that can fund it. No restrictions, meaning, let's look at it this way. To use Helene recovery money, your municipality must be located in this county, one of these counties. So if you're in one of these counties, you want to pick the Helene recovery. If you have any questions about this, call us. We will help you through this process. But thank you for asking, Kay. So this project can be funded through three different funding programs. If your municipality is then covered by these Inflation Reduction Act areas, then you would be eligible to apply for the Inflation Reduction Act. If you're not eligible for either one of these funding programs, you are only eligible for the consolidated program grant funding. Go ahead, Kay.
Okay. A couple of questions, if you don't mind. All right, the statement that says 50,000 in assistance is available for award of all CPG funded RFAs. What does that mean?
What that means is, across all of these, I've got $50,000 available to fund any of the projects with the CPG funding.
So does that mean there's only one that'll be awarded in the CPG?
I don't know that. Likely, but I think the important thing is, do you want to do it? Does the community want to do it? Apply for it. And if you need to know which one of these programs you should apply for. Certainly, if you can't understand what's here, definitely reach out to us to get that guidance. All I'm trying to say is how much money I have available. Kay, you're correct. Maybe, in terms of CPG, that will only end up funding one, but I don't know what applications I'm going to get. And I don't know how they're going to rank out. So yeah, that's just to kind of give you a measure what's out there. Go ahead.
Well, given that there's a stated list of all the things that would be accomplished by your office in that award, it seems like it might just be one.
It might.
Okay. The other question I had, it has to do with the Inflation Reduction Act. And the example you gave was in Albemarle. And you showed that in only part of Albemarle was in the Inflation Reduction Act project area. But the statement there says that the municipality must be 100% in the boundaries of the Inflation Reduction Act. So that seemed a little inconsistent. So I wanted to clarify that.
Using your example of Albemarle, what I'm going to tell you is don't I always say apply and we'll sort it out, but I will tell you this. So if we were to talk about Tree City, although Albemarle is a tree city, looks like 59% of the municipality is covered by these areas. So for the Tree City, Climb to Tree City, that is a community-wide project. So we could use IRA money, but it's only going to pay 59% of the cost. So Albemarle, unless they were in one of the lean monies, the CPG option is better because it would pay 75%.
I understand now. Thank you.
But, we will look at these, and, go back to somebody and say, hey, well, here is another option. If you can, Albemarle, can you afford to fund, 31% of this? We will put it under IRA. So.
I understand. Thank you.
Okay, good.
Okay. Caitlin has a question, I believe, referring back to the Bad Tree Bounty Program, asking, same question as above, but for the Special Projects Program. And Caitlin, if you want to clarify, feel free to unmute if I misunderstood your question.
Yes, I was just curious if a certain amount of projects will be awarded.
For the Bad Tree Bounty.
No, for the
special
projects program.
So that is, there will be at least 2 contracts.
Okay.
So that is to hire a pass-through organization. And you will see that that's relative to the Climb to Tree City package. What we are looking for is a not-for-profit that's either qualified or partners with private sector to provide those Climb to Tree City packages for services for our municipalities. So how many will be awarded? I will use as much as the funding that I have to award as many as I can.
And it sounds like you're saying it's not, that particular one isn't geared towards municipalities to apply for. It would be a nonprofit in partnership with the municipality.
Yeah, that's, if you
Okay.
read that, that is a request for proposal. I didn't go over it because I didn't really think it is pertinent to this audience. You're certainly welcome if you are um, a not-for-profit, and it's, what happens is that this becomes what we call a pass-through grant. And essentially, we will hire that not-for-profit to complete that Climb to Tree City services package for municipalities. So what we may award in our current IRFA for the Climb to Tree Cities would ultimately, if we get that contract in place, those municipalities will be passed to this organization to complete the work, certainly
Okay.
in partnership with us. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. What you got next, Justin?
All right, we have another question from Kay asking, let's see here. For the staff development grant, would someone in a supervisory position and not hands-on in tree management be eligible?
We are going to look at these case by case. You know, you show us the value. If the municipality does not have a urban forestry professional in the community, that is the most important thing. So the answer would be yes. We will award.
Okay. Randy Lyon asks, for the Climb to Tree City package, there seems to be a limit of 10 trees allowed to be planted. If the tree caliper is on the smaller size, for example, 2-inch, is there any flexibility to allow more than 10 trees but fewer than 20?
If I understood that correctly.
So likely no, Randy. This is kind of a package that we're going to say we want to do a kind of a celebratory project. This is not a planting program.
Okay.
This is about the Tree City package, and that 10 tree planting is a celebration of completing this project, not
Okay.
a tree planting project.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
And that is all the questions we have in the chat. If anyone else has a question, feel free to put it in the chat. Okay, we've got one. For the Climb to Managing program, would you be able to apply for both a tree inventory and a management plan, or would you have to have the tree inventory already?
If you could show that you got them done within the year, I think that's limited to a year, but again, I'm going to say go ahead and apply if that's the important thing. So, you know, because ultimately some of this, the funding is going to drive things, but I always say ask first. And we will push you back. We're going to look at all these and go, well, you know, kind of asking to do a lot here, and we will work. So, but if it can get done, that was, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, to clarify that one, I submitted that question. We had a tree inventory completed 2 years ago, but since we were impacted by Helene, we really wanted to have an updated inventory. But I know a management plan has also been a really high priority thing to get done. So I
Yeah,
guess I
what
see what you're saying, apply for both
Yeah.
if you want.
Is this Hendersonville? I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's Hendersonville.
Great to see you or hear from you, because I had reached out to formerly, Mark was somebody we'd been working with.
Yes.
Apparently he's moved on. So, so Caitlin, you know, apply for both. As I said, you can put in multiple applications. And we're going to take a look at these and work with each community and help you. But, you know, if it looks like, for example, you need either a canopy cover assessment that was completed or a tree inventory that was completed to do a management plan, but we can have discussions about that. So
Okay, and
as I
I'm
said,
guessing,
if in doubt,
Mhm.
apply.
okay. And it sounds like there's not a cap per applicant for funds requested. Okay,
There is not.
okay, thank you.
All right, that's all the questions that we have so far. If anyone,
And Justin, I don't know if
in
you
the
saw
chat, feel free to
Amy's.
post something.
You
Go
might have
ahead.
answered Amy's question there above Caitlin's, but we kind of had a similar question. Like if a city like Albemarle wanted to do a project in the IRA census tract, but it doesn't cover the whole city, is that 100% IRA, or does the city only qualify for a certain amount of IRA funding? It's the match question is, I guess, what I'm wondering. Like if Wilson, which has a small portion not in an IRA eligible census tract, if they wanted to just do a project inside one of the blue census tracts, does that mean they're able to get that 100% grant?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah. Take a project. If it falls within those IRS tracks, it's covered 100%.
Yeah, that's what we were thinking.
If you morph your project outside of the boundaries, it's only going to pay the percentage that's covered. You follow me?
Yeah, that makes sense. We were thinking that too. We would stick to those census tracts. You're not going to penalize the city just because a portion of their limits is outside of those census tracts, as long as the project is inside those census tracts.
No, that's to fund projects in those tracks.
That makes sense. And
So-
John, did you have a separate question?
Yeah, I do have another question, Andy. So if these towns like Castelia is not quite a Tree City USA yet, they can't jump past that project and apply for IRA funding to plant, say, 20 or 30 trees if they're not a Tree City USA already. Is that correct? Is that how this works?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
So you need to do the climb to Tree City first. You get that, and then you can apply to the ones that are above that.
Okay, gotcha.
All right. Thanks, Andy.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Justin.
All right, if anyone else has any questions, feel free to put them in the chat, or you can unmute at this time and just ask them.
I do have a question. Back to the climb to Tree City USA. If these services are going to be provided and how do you budget for the 25% share?
Well, I'm going to again say apply, and we will sort that out on the other side.
Okay.
If I had a contract in place, I'd give you those numbers.
Could
But
you give an example? That would be helpful.
I don't know, but if you take that list of, that could be, between $50,000 and $100,000 to do that work. But I'm speculating. So I think, if a community's interested, apply, because we want to know that you're interested. And then we will sort out the real details later. And I felt, I could have waited till I had this service provider in place before I offered this out there. But I felt like I'm interested in knowing, and why wait? That will help get things done by starting July 1. If I waited, we'd be talking about this next year.
Okay.
That's kind of my strategy. And I think it also, part of all of this too is us. This is certainly a way of us advertising what we're going to be offering. And this is gonna be this whole packaging, this is gonna be the way it's gonna be working moving forward. So I wanted to get that out.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. All right, any other questions?
I think that's it. If anyone else has anything, feel free to ask, and we'll get you answered.
I'm sorry to keep being detail oriented here, but if I could ask one more. Our town council requires, if we apply for a grant that require, and there is a requirement for a cost share, they require approval before we can apply for that grant. So what would I be asking them for? Cost share relative to a $50,000? I mean,
So Kay, let's talk offline.
Okay.
Give us a call.
okay, I will. Thank you so much.
Yeah, call us and we will work out these and yeah, I hear what you're saying. You're not the only one, right? You know, and that would give you 2 months here, hopefully is enough time for people to do that, any requirements they have on that side.
Okay,
But you know, the only other option is, you know, I mean, we can probably give you numbers just for everybody to hear. Recognize, you know, sometimes maybe it's not right now and you work on it for the next time. We can give you more information in 6 months, but let's talk, Kay.
sure. Thank you.
All
Okay,
right, I believe.
thank you,
that's-
folks.
Mhm.
As I said, we have recorded this, so we will be recording and transcription will be posted on our webpage in several weeks after our I&E folks have time to process it. So I thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Y'all have a great afternoon.
Thank you.